All right, so we're winding down here. This is our last video of the biotechnology and processing playlist. Sorry, I'm still getting through my Laffy Taffy from a couple of videos ago, but we're going to talk about the role of government in biotechnology. And we've talked about the FDA and the National Bioethics Advisory Commission in this class earlier this semester, I believe. It's always good to review. So the government is actively involved in the regulation of biotechnology, and specifically genetically modified crops and genetically modified foods. Some key organizations are the Food and Drug Administration and the National Bioethics Advisory Commission. The FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, is kind of the official policymaking organization. They decide whether or not a product or medicine or procedure is safe or unsafe, and it can be a very controversial and challenging position to be in, simply because everyone has different opinions and beliefs about biotechnology and where their food comes from. On the other hand, the National Bioethics Commission is more of the unofficial guide to the President of the United States, or the POTUS. They do not specifically enforce or create policies, unlike the FDA. So these are the two main key organizations that play a role in monitoring our genetically modified organisms and the guides to the President of the United States and to government agencies when making decisions. So just in case, if and when we do return to school, it's important to think about these questions, and we will have some discussion in here about this. And I may even post some questions on Google Classroom if we do not return to an in-person model, because I think this is also important and it's good for us to practice talking about these issues, because a lot of people out in public do not necessarily know what genetically modified organisms are, and they just assume that they're bad because they're an acronym. When in reality, genetically modified organisms can provide a lot of benefits to humans. And I don't want to force my own beliefs or opinions on anyone in this class, but I want you to have an open mind to think about what genetically modified organisms are before shutting down and thinking that they're bad. And I also want you to know, on the flip side, if you do support genetically modified organisms, knowing the risks or concerns with those from the opposing side. So it's always good to discuss these. So think about these questions. Why should or should not the government regulate genetically modified crops and foods? Number two, genetically modified foods are currently not required to be labeled. Should they be labeled? And lastly, is the government doing too much to regulate our food supply or not enough? So just to recap our learning targets for today. By now, hopefully you can describe the structure and function of DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid and the 4 different bases that are available, along with the double helix structure. Define biotechnology in your own words. Remember that biotechnology is a tool that we utilize to help manipulate organisms to make them more advantageous or beneficial or good for humans. Describe how biotechnology influences human nutrition. So for example, we can genetically engineer rice and insert beta carotene genes to help decrease vitamin A deficiency in people in developing countries so that they can restore their vision and potentially decrease death rates. We can describe how food preservation is a form of biotechnology. So again, we have drying, salting, canning and pickling, and refrigeration. Those are the 4 key methods that we talked about. We can compare and contrast the characteristics of different food preservation methods. We can evaluate the role of enzymes in food production and processing. Within our own bodies, enzymes help break down the foods that we eat and help speed up the chemical reaction so that we can take advantage of the nutrients of our food products even faster. And also in an industrial or in a commercial setting, when we're producing foods, enzymes are able to help catalyze and really bring life to a lot of the different food products that we eat, whether that be bread or cheese or dairy products. We can articulate our own biotechnology beliefs, and we can explain the role of the government in regulating biotechnology efforts, remembering that the FDA is more of the official guide and the National Bioethics Council or Advisory Council is more so for the POTUS to have an unofficial guide or some additional advice and consultation with. So there you have it. This is the Food Biotechnology and Processing unit, the end of this unit. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and I'm happy to answer.